recently there has been a devastating death of Rebecca Cheptegei, who was an Olympic runner representing her country of Uganda. And at the time of her death, she was living in Kenya. So her ex-boyfriend doused her with petrol and set her on fire over a land dispute. And as a result, Rebecca suffered a severe 80% third-degree burns. And as I stated in one of my recent community posts, as heartbreaking as it is to read about this, I am not surprised by the fact that she died at the hands of her male partner. Unfortunately, Rebecca is not the only successful African Olympian who has passed away at the cruel hands of their male partner. And it's actually becoming incredibly common for African athlete women to be killed while they are climbing up the ladder of success, especially in the East African region, which is very well known for producing the best or some of the best long distance runners who have attended the Olympic Games several times. For instance, in 2021, Agnes Tirop from Kenya was stabbed by her husband after competing in the Tokyo 2021 Olympic Games, and she too was a runner. We also have Damaris Mute, a Kenyan athlete who was also murdered by her boyfriend through strangulation. So, as you can see, there is definitely a pattern here, and all these horrible events happened within a very short time frame. So, let's look at the news reporting of the passing away of Rebecca Cheptegei, and then I will come back with my commentary.
The Ugandan marathon runner Rebecca Cheptegei has died 4 days after being set on fire in an alleged attack by her boyfriend. The Olympic athlete was reportedly doused with petrol at her home in Western Kenya, where she'd been training. Cheptegei, who was 33, sustained burns on more than 70% of her body. Boyfriend was also injured. Let's go live now to Nairobi. Our Africa sports correspondent, Celestine Corone. Celestine, just bring us up to date with what we know here.
Well, Louise, doctors treating Rebecca Cheptegei have told local media that the 33-year-old died after she suffered organ failure as a result of the extensive burns she suffered in that attack on Sunday. Doctors had said that her burn percentage was at 80%, and she had been in critical conditions since arriving in hospital on Monday. The authorities in northwest Kenya, where Cheptegei lived and trained, said that she was attacked on Sunday when she came back from church with her 2 children, and her alleged assailant, who the family said, and the family told the media, is an ex-boyfriend, who also suffered extensive injuries. He continues to be in hospital in the intensive care unit. Doctors said that he suffered 30% burns.
Cheptegei competed for Uganda at the Paris Olympics, finishing 44th in the marathon. Her partner's being treated for burns in hospital. Police are investigating the attack. Let's bring in Usha Kumagisha, who's a Ugandan sports commentator and former athlete. She joins us from Kigali in Rwanda. Welcome to Al Jazeera. So this is a horrendous waste of a life and, of course, of talent to compete at the highest level, and now this. What kind of an athlete was she?
Rebecca Cheptegei, like many Ugandan athletes or long-distance runners from the East African region, very humble, just focused on representing her nation, but also enjoying athletics. She recently competed in the Paris 2024 Olympics, finished 44th, but just generally, a wife, a mother, great mother to her children, and just to understand the circumstances in which this has happened is just very sad. Sunday morning, coming from church, from praying, and then all of a sudden, petrol attack on her by her partner. This is just sad and very tragic in every kind of way.
And Usha, what does her death mean, of course, for Uganda, Ugandan sport, and also the wider sporting community?
It's very scary at this point because on December 31st, 2023, a Ugandan athlete, Benjamin Kiplagat, was found dead, and he was stabbed and in Eldoret, in the Rift Valley region, where most of the high altitude athletes use these areas to train. It's very sad, but also in the last 4 and 3 years, you have several incidents happening for female athletes. Agnes Tirop in 2021 died in the same circumstances, attacked by her partner. In 2022, you also have Demiris Muthi, who was also strangled by her partner. They found a pillow over her head. So this is just getting out of hand. Gender-based violence, and it gives a lot of information around maybe their partners who allegedly are jealous with their achievements as athletes, especially in the world, with all the spotlight on them when they succeed.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you that. I mean, it does sort of suggest that there is a degree of bitterness around fame, around potential financial earnings, being at the top of their game in these particular sports. I mean, how do you read this?
It's just very tragic because these are women who are doing everything possible within their means. They enjoy running, first of all, but that they succeed and represent their countries is just an extra layer that gives them prestige, but also is a way of life. They earn from it. When they compete in these competitions, they get paid for it. They come back home, build houses, buy some property. And it's not a problem if they put the property in both their names and those of their partners. So to have this kind of aggression and going on to being killed just for standing up for themselves is just very sad, because once you look at them as individuals, they're very humble women. And even the humility aside, they're just women who are trying to, enjoy this career that they've set up for themselves. And yes, of course, they get support from family and friends. But in the general grand scheme of things, it's just very sad that it has come down to this. And they're very young. She was 33, Rebecca Cheptegei. Agnes Tirop was buried on what could have been her 26th birthday. So when you look at it, I think more has to be done from the authorities and really from men in these particular circumstances. They have to protect these women. And if they have a disagreement, they can agree to part ways. But death is not a solution.
Yeah, as you say, there appears to be a pattern of horrendous violence against prominent female athletes there.
So as we can see and hear, it has been speculated that this may have been a case of jealousy from Rebecca's killer, her ex-boyfriend, that contributed to her passing away. I absolutely don't doubt it. On my channel, I talk a lot about jealousy, and one of the main reasons why I do so is because I know how far jealousy takes someone into committing hateful, heinous crimes, like in this instance. When the emotion of jealousy is not managed properly, jealousy kills, point blank, and I stand by that. What's even more heartbreaking is that these successful African women usually come from more poorer backgrounds, where they end up carrying the load of helping every family member. So not only do they have to think about training and being the best athlete that they can be, they also have a family to feed, such as their siblings, their parents, their aunties, uncles, cousins, family friends, and so on. And many women who are successful end up becoming the breadwinners in their relationships and also in their family. So imagine having all that pressure. And it's very clear Rebecca had that role, because you can look at what her father said about the loss of her daughter, and it's so sickening. I'll put the screenshots from the article that reported what he said. I will also read it as well for you. I have lost a daughter who helped me in many ways. We have children in secondary schools, and I don't know how we're going to cope with this challenge to ensure they complete their studies, he lamented. As you can see, and as you have heard, Rebecca's father is clearly not mourning the death of his child. He is mourning the loss of his financial assistance. This isn't talked about enough, but there are so many African women who become successful and end up being treated like walking ATMs by the people who they call family, where their family and friends see them as cash cows and they leech off the success of these women. And in that article, the father did not even mention about how Rebecca was as a person and her personal achievements, her running career. He just talked about the financial value that she brought to him, which is the only way he viewed her. She was paying for her siblings' school fees and most likely paying for a lot more. And in many instances, unfortunately, women who are in the place that Rebecca was in, unfortunately, even when they know that they are being taken advantage for, they have a hard time standing up for themselves because they often get gaslighted and guilt tripped into paying for everything with their hard-earned cash. On another note, this serves as a reminder to women all over the world, Black, white, Asian, but especially Black women, to protect yourself as much as possible. And I'm not saying that had Rebecca done something different, she would have still been alive and the outcome may have been different. I'm not saying that because none of that could have guaranteed anything at the end of the day. But we still need to take these horrible events that happen very seriously. The world is unsafe and you could be gone in a blink of an eye. The Black femicide rates are going up every year in the US, UK, Africa, and we all need to stay alert. If that means you need to carry a defense weapon on you that is legal to carry in your country, or take self-defense classes, or financially protect yourself, especially in these type of situations, or move out to a different city, country, or even continent for your own safety, then so be it. You also need to learn how to build firm and strict boundaries with everyone, which is how to do, but it sometimes can cost your whole life. And also notice the pattern of behaviors from early on, especially from these men that you're dealing with. Usually the demeaning, the belittling, the signs of envy that they have towards you starts very early on, and it starts in small increments. It starts with snide remarks and comments. I obviously don't know the ins and outs of the relationship that Rebecca had with her ex-boyfriend, but from my understanding of how a lot of African societies are, that are heavily patriarchal, where women a lot of the times aren't seen anything more than being mothers, rearing children, cooking and cleaning. Oftentimes women are seen, not heard. So I know for a fact that this created a power imbalance within the relationship because Rebecca was the successful one in the relationship and the man's ego was at play, of course, as usual. And this is going to be even more prevalent in countries where a lot of the people, including men, come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. So these cases of jealousy towards women are not uncommon at all, especially jealousy to the point that they want to take away someone else's life. I also want to touch on the fact that a lot of these successful African women who often end up in relationships with men who are beneath them in a socioeconomic sense, financial sense, and so on, and career-wise. A lot of these successful African women do it because there are cultural obligations, but the main reason is because they have limited dating options in their respective environments. They can't really date up in their environment unless they change their environments completely, because a lot of the men in their environment are poorer than them and aren't in the same circles as them. And those men end up being jealous of these women over time, and which leads to pent-up resentment. Because how dare a woman who culturally is seen as beneath me as a man, how dare she surpass me in life? Hence why it's not uncommon to sometimes see some successful African women marry out, whether it's to a man who is from another region from theirs, or to a man from a completely different race. It's honestly so unfortunate to hear and read about this, and the craziest thing of it all is that there are probably so many other women who are going through this or have gone through it and have been unalived as a result. But because it hasn't been reported, or the guilty perpetrators were protected by the law, which often happens, we don't know what happened to the rest of these women. I hope that Rebecca and the rest get justice in the end. Black femicide is real. What do you all think about the passing away of Rebecca? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next one.